still hanging on to the idea that being all clingy, replying in 5 seconds flat, and serving yourself up on a silver platter is what real love looks like. How adorable. So tell me, you plush teddy bear of romance? Why is it always you bawling into your pillow while she's already grinning in her stories with some other dude? Why, every time you decide to go all in for real, does she lose interest faster than skipping a boring Netflix episode? The answer's straightforward, brutal, and hits without warning. If you feel too much, you're the one who gets burned. If you hand over your whole self, you turn into a predictable decoration. And if you think spilling your guts in a long text or baring your soul is gonna fix it, you're just proving you don't get the basic rules of this emotional game. It's not overloading on affection that wins hearts. It's the silence that plants seeds of doubt. It's not being there 24/7 that hooks them. It's vanishing at just the right moment that stings worse than a slap. And here's the spoiler. She doesn't remember what you gave her. She remembers what you yanked away when she thought she had you wrapped around her finger. You know that scoundrel you can't stand? Yeah, he figured it all out way before you did. He doesn't love any less. He just knows how to play the game. And that's why, while you're begging for scraps of attention, he's squatting rent-free in her head, even after ghosting off the grid. This video isn't a pat on the back. It's a gut punch. I'm not here to turn you into a nice guy, because nice guy is code for disposable trash. I'm here to teach you how to stop being the sad sack in your own story. And that starts with burying the pushover inside you. The scoundrel isn't the villain in the romance. He's just the dude who realized too much attachment is an emotional leash with a sucker tag. And today, you're gonna learn that detachment, when dished out with a surgeon's ice-cold precision, becomes a weapon of mass emotional destruction. So pay attention, because after this, you won't crawl for anything, not for her, not for attention, not for respect. And before we dive into this reality check, let's get one thing straight. This video only hit your feed because someone sharper than you already liked, subscribed, and got the algorithm working in our favor. So stop leeching off free content. Like it, subscribe, and drop a thanks in the comments. Not for me, but for the algorithm that decides who else deserves this wake-up slap. Now buckle up, because the end is gonna hurt worse than that last message seen and left on read. Number 1. The Attached Guy's Mistake, aka the Sucker's Guide to Emotional Self-Sabotage in full swing. Most guys learn to love like beggars on the street, on their knees, eyes watery, heart out in their palm, hoping someone tosses them crumbs of affection. The more they feel, the more they grovel. The more they give, the more they fade into the background. They think chasing, explaining, and pouring it all out is charming. But in her head, it's got another label. Easy to replace. The attached dude lives to please. Replies in a heartbeat, always ready, always available, always eager to prove he's not like the others. Spoiler, he's exactly like all the other desperate losers she's already ditched. That overkill suffocates, kills the mystery, drains the spark, and turns her desire into pity points. Attachment is like an emotional GPS. She knows exactly where you are, what you're feeling, and what you'll do next. And anything predictable is boring as hell. Female desire thrives on uncertainty, not on delivery app reliability. She craves what she can't figure out, not what comes with a user manual. But the nice guy, poor sap, thinks the way forward is to give it all. And when she starts cooling off, he misses the hint. He doubles down, triples the screw-up, tries to drown out her disinterest with a flood of attention, and digs his own emotional grave with the shovel of, "I'll prove how much I love you." She tests. She pushes. She prods. And the attached guy takes it all like an emotional intern hustling for the job. He justifies. He begs. He turns into a side character in his own plot. And that's when respect dies. 'Cause she's not pulling away to cut you out, genius. She's pulling away to see if you're man enough to walk without whining. But the attached guy, of course, doesn't get it. He pushes harder, chases, asks what's wrong, wants to talk. Fix it, understand. Result, he becomes dead weight. Emotional baggage she dumps at the first corner. The scoundrel. Oh, he plays a different game. When the nonsense starts, he vanishes. In silence. No epic text, no speech, no tears. And that's exactly why he leaves a mark. The scoundrel gets the basics. Too much attachment turns you into an emotional doormat. But detachment, that chilly, calculated, strategic kind, that's what breeds doubt. And doubt, my friend, is the new power. Feel too much and you bleed out. Get too attached and you lose your crown. And if you don't know when to exit stage left, you'll never be remembered as a puzzle. Just another stat in the emotional failure league. So decide now. Keep serving love like a cheap diner special to someone who wouldn't appreciate a feast, or learn to be the silence that echoes long after you're gone. Number 2, detachment as self-mastery, or the owner's manual for anyone sick of being the emotional toy of the week. Detachment isn't about not feeling. It's not turning into a soulless robot. It's feeling, sure, but with brakes, with filters, with your brain calling the shots and emotions on a short leash. The scoundrel feels, of course he does. He connects, he wants, he gets involved. But unlike the needy guy who's always in emotional alarm mode, he has something the nice guy will never grasp: self-control. While the attached dude dives in like jumping off a cliff blindfolded, the scoundrel picks his steps like an emotional surgeon. He assesses, he calculates, he decides with surgical coolness. Because he already knows letting the heat of the moment take over is a shortcut to becoming an emotional punchline. While the desperate one shoots off a midnight text like, "Everything okay?" the scoundrel stays quiet, watching, gauging, deciding if she even deserves the luxury of a reply. The scoundrel doesn't dim himself to please. He's not driven by neediness, he's driven by strategy. His detachment isn't a lack of soul, it's an overflow of emotional smarts. He doesn't reply right away because he owes no one an explanation. He doesn't open up like a bargain bin self-help book. He doesn't show his weak spots because he gets that in the attraction game. Flashing your wounds makes you a target. He's not cold, he's lethal. The more control he shows, the more she spirals trying to crack the code. And that's when the power flips. The guy who rules his own heart sets the game's pace, while most are still gasping between jealousy fits. The scoundrel's picking who deserves his energy. He doesn't argue, doesn't yell, doesn't cry on live. He just watches with the calm of someone who's seen every movie and knows exactly when to walk out. His detachment is an invisible wall that guards what's worth it and weeds out the crap. And it's that strategic chill that hooks her. 'Cause she can't wrap her head around how he can be so there and yet so out of reach. So intense yet distant. This isn't disinterest. It's mastery. Raw power. The scoundrel doesn't answer everything. He ignores. He ghosts at the peak. He shatters the emotional game's rules, shows up when no one's expecting and dips when everyone thinks he'll stick around. He's not the exception because he's special. He's the exception because he stopped trying to please. While the rest kneel at the altar of feelings, the scoundrel sits on the throne of self-mastery. This isn't soul-deep coldness, it's king-level discipline, and she feels it, because the guy who owns his heart will never be a slave to hers. Number 3. The doubt that turns into obsession, or how the scoundrel turned silence into an addiction and became a luxury ghost haunting her mind. Nothing hooks harder than what the brain can't crack. The scoundrel got this before he even outgrew his emotional training wheels. While the average guy is out there drafting emotional wills via text, trying to convince her he's trustworthy, interesting, mature, cute, head over heels, and more predictable than a report card, the scoundrel just vanishes, shuts up, watches, becomes a walking riddle with a busted GPS and encrypted feelings. He doesn't explain himself, doesn't spill his guts, doesn't hand over the script. He just exists, like a high-end puzzle out of reach, and that eats away at her. 'Cause what creates attachment in a woman isn't what you say, buddy. It's what she imagines when you zip it. And the scoundrel masters this like performing emotional surgery without numbing. He doesn't reply often, 'cause frequency is for cheap radio static, not a guy who values himself. He switches paths, breaks routines, hits with intensity, and ghosts with style. Where the needy one would write an emotional manifesto, he plants silence. Where the desperate sends a wall of text, he sends nothing. 'Cause he knows her brain's hooked on filling blanks. She has to interpret, invent theories, whip up drama where there's no plot. And the more she tries to decode what's unsaid, the more she tangles in her own fixation. The scoundrel doesn't give answers, he gives mazes. And guess what? She walks right in, starts doubting herself. Did I mess up? Is he with someone else? Did he forget me? Nah, sweetie. He just figured out doubt owns you more than any love note. He's not gone by accident. He's gone 'cause he knows it traps you. He replies when you've already tossed your phone aside. Shows up when you swore you'd moved on. He doesn't follow scripts, he writes his own. He doesn't play by basic emotional rules. He shreds the playbook and forces you to wing it. And that's why he sticks in her head like a regret tattoo. The guy who vanishes without a word becomes an eternal presence. The one who doesn't give in easy becomes a challenge. The one who doesn't justify becomes an obsession. 'Cause he cracked the game's dynamics. What scars you isn't what they gave, it's what they snatched away right when you thought you'd won. Number 4, the mystery that hooks, or why the scoundrel became an addiction and the nice guy a nap. Every woman at some point has felt boredom like a rainy Sunday next to a predictable dude. The one who serves everything up, spills what he feels, thinks, plans to do, eat, even dream like an unwanted emotional reality show. She already knows the lines, the reactions, the emojis, even the text timing. Result? Desire dies before the good morning. 'Cause what fuels attraction isn't info overload, it's the mystery that scrambles her brain. And on that, the scoundrel's got a PhD. He's the guy who never grants full access, drops crumbs, replies ambiguously, talks like he's playing silent emotional chess. One word from him packs more punch than 1,000 nice guy declarations. Why? 'Cause she never knows if he's serious or messing with her. If he's there 'cause he cares or just digs the game. And the more doubt she feels, the more focus she gives. The scoundrel doesn't boil down to canned lines. He doesn't fit in a text. Doesn't reveal in 3 dates. He lives in a zone where mystery's the norm, not the outlier. And that's what hooks. She doesn't think of him for what he said. She freaks over what he didn't, over what's hanging in the air, between lines, loose glances. It's his silence that screams in her ear when her head hits the pillow. The lack of explanation that turns addictive. While the emotional guy dumps his life story on date 1, the scoundrel plays slow. No rush, no desperation. Each layer of him takes effort. Each clue's a reward. And her mind becomes a hostage to curiosity. The scoundrel doesn't hide out of fear. He guards himself strategically, 'cause anything easy come is easy forgotten. Anything handed over without a fight becomes an emotional trinket, cute but useless. The scoundrel, on the flip side, is the kind of guy she feels she has, but can never fully grip. And that addicts more than any perfectly timed sweet talk. 'Cause when a guy turns enigma, he stops being just another and becomes an experience. And experiences, buddy, aren't beaten with a "hey, stranger." The scoundrel cracked the secret. What seduces isn't what you show, it's what you hide masterfully and let her mind dig its own obsession. Number 5, the absence game. AKA the scoundrel's masterclass on becoming an eternal presence by being absent. Yeah, buddy, too much presence turns you into emotional wallpaper, there but unnoticed. But a well-timed absence? That's art. The scoundrel doesn't ghost out of spite, drama, or midlife crisis. He ghosts for impact. 'Cause he knows silence at the right moment hits harder than 1,000 teary speeches. He doesn't throw a fit to leave, doesn't send a farewell note or pull a "I need space" act. He just steps back, right when she thinks she's got him in her pocket. And then, my man, her mind goes into quiet meltdown. 'Cause the average guy, that poor sap in the Good Morning Princess queue, will push, send texts, ask what went wrong, try to salvage something unsalvageable. But the scoundrel, he spots the disinterest, the test, the poke, and evaporates like mist. But don't kid yourself, he was there. And that's why, when he bounces, his absence weighs more than anyone else's presence. He doesn't ghost 'cause he doesn't care. He ghosts 'cause he gets that his absence speaks louder than any "let's talk about us" attempt. And she hears it. Boy, does she. Scrolls back through chats, analyzes what he said, Replay's silence is like cracking a secret code, and the more she puzzles over why he stopped, the more he embeds in her head like a ghost that doesn't haunt but tempts. The scoundrel doesn't fight for attention. He claims mental real estate. He doesn't beg to be remembered. He becomes unforgettable through the void he leaves. His absence isn't a hole, it's a maze, a tease, a buzz she tries to mute but only amps up. And while the nice guy's firing off good morning on day 17 of being ignored, the scoundrel stays where he wants, in her thoughts, without needing to show up. 'Cause desire doesn't sprout from presence, it grows from lack. And lack only hurts when there's value. And value only exists when you're not as available as free Wi-Fi. The scoundrel cracked the secret. The guy who knows the exact moment to vanish never fades from her mind. Number 6, the self-reliance that scares, or how the scoundrel became every woman's favorite nightmare, the one who thought she'd toy with someone else's feelings. Nothing rattles a woman more and obsesses her than running into a guy who doesn't need her, who doesn't hinge on the good morning, the heart emoji, the emotional thumbs up she thinks is a prize, who doesn't crumble from silence, melt from absence, or fall apart at the first ego game. That guy, the scoundrel, he spins on his own axis, a self-contained satellite of chill and confidence. He doesn't tweak his vibe to please, doesn't bend to her mood, doesn't beg for attention like a dog for treats. 'Cause he figured out the secret most desperate dudes never do. The more whole he comes across, the more she wants to snag what he doesn't hand out freely. While the rest wake up plotting what to text, which sticker to send, or how not to seem too clingy, the scoundrel lives, plain and simple. He breathes easy, walks steady, talks like he's not there to impress but to size up. He doesn't need her, and she senses it. And that feeling of not being essential shatters the control she thought she had. 'Cause the scoundrel isn't competing with anyone. He doesn't fight for the spotlight. He doesn't yell for notice. He's the type who, if she wants out, points to the door, no speech, no drama, no scene. And if she wants in, she's gotta prove she's worth it. That stance is an atomic bomb to female vanity. 'Cause the guy who doesn't need, who doesn't sell out, who doesn't emote easy, becomes rare. And anything rare skyrockets in value. He doesn't chase crowds, doesn't feed pity parties, has zero patience for emotional dances. He watches, decides, acts. Simple, raw, deadly. His self-reliance is an invisible barrier that screens out emotional junk. He doesn't get hyped on empty compliments, doesn't swoon over fairy tale promises. Seen too much, broken too much, to fall for the circus again. And here's the killer blow. When she realizes he's not trying to win her, he's just being himself, panic sets in. 'Cause for the first time she feels she might lose someone who never tried to trap her. And that's when she chases, 'cause the scoundrel flips the script. While others beg for a spot in her heart, he makes her wonder if she deserves a place in his world. The guy who doesn't depend intimidates. And anything that intimidates leaves a mark. Number 7, the scoundrel doesn't explain himself. And that's exactly why he never has to apologize for being unforgettable. Every time a guy opens his mouth to justify, he tosses away whatever respect was left. I didn't mean it. Let me explain. You got it wrong. Congrats. You just won emotional sidekick of the month. In this justification circus, the nice guy turns servant. Becomes the PR rep for his own dignity. And why? 'Cause he still hasn't clued in that the second you need to be understood, you're already being sized up and downsized. The scoundrel, he plays a whole other game. He doesn't try to be understood. Doesn't sell the I'm different image. Doesn't give teary speeches to prove pure intentions. He just acts and leaves the interpreting to the audience. 'Cause he knows doubt shouts louder than any wall of text. While the desperate draft scrolls to save the vibe, the scoundrel drops a dry okay like a face slap and ghosts. While the emotional wrecks freak trying to pinpoint where I went wrong, the scoundrel's already shut the door, flipped the lights, and bounced without a footprint. He doesn't bargain for respect. He demands it. Without threats, without raising his voice, without begging for understanding. And that's what unravels everything. 'Cause she's used to guys who quake at, we need to talk. Guys who melt at the slightest disinterest. Who chase, cry, humiliate themselves, crawl for a shot. But the scoundrel, he doesn't chase anyone. If she wants out, he doesn't hold on. If she wants to stay, she'll have to handle a guy who won't juggle emotions to keep her. 'Cause the scoundrel cracked the emotional math. Talk too much and you deflate. Explain too much and you shrink. But shut up at the right time, and you become a riddle with lasting side effects. She might hate his silence, not get it, even complain. But she'll remember. Remember 'cause the guy who doesn't justify plants a doubt that sprouts like weeds in her head. A longing that doesn't know its start or how to end. And that, buddy, is the kind of absence no one forgets. Number 8. The cold exit in the heat of the moment. Or how the scoundrel won without raising his voice, typing an essay, or saying sorry. When the drama kicks off, the average guy flips to emotional beggar mode. Wants to fix it, explain, play therapist for the session she wouldn't pay for. Types a novella-worthy manifesto, sends a 7-minute voice note, tries to show he just wants to be understood. And on the other end, she watches the spectacle. Chill, ego fed by the sight of a guy falling apart. While he crumbles, she judges, assesses, tests, waits for total breakdown. Enter the scoundrel, who, unlike the needy freak-out, doesn't play along. He watches the emotional climb like a storm through glass, untouched. He doesn't debate where logic's absent, doesn't try to prove he's the wrong nice guy. He just leaves, but not slamming doors, yelling, or making a scene. He leaves like a scalpel, precise, direct, quiet. He doesn't reply, doesn't counter, doesn't align expectations. He vanishes right when she thought she'd see him on his knees. And that silence, that icy ghosting in the fire's peak, is a blunt, brutal, no-take-backs blow. 'Cause she expected a reaction, expected yelling, explaining, begging forgiveness, and got the opposite, zilch. The void, the freeze that chills even her pride. The scoundrel doesn't threaten, doesn't say I'm out, he just goes. And goes with such certainty, such chill, that she doesn't know if he'll return, and worse, starts hoping he does. 'Cause now she's the one desperate. The nice guy blows up at the climax. The scoundrel ghosts. And that vanishing, timed for max intensity, becomes an emotional scar. 'Cause it wasn't running away, it was a win. He didn't give the show she craved. He gave silence. And silence in that moment roars louder than any scream. 'Cause when she wanted emotion, he gave indifference. When she wanted war, he gave emptiness. And that emptiness lingers, as doubt, as guilt, as an emotional specter. 'Cause the scoundrel got it, shut up at the peak, and become an eternal echo in the mind of whoever thought they had the reins. He doesn't need to come back. He already won. Number 9. The power flip, or how the scoundrel became king in a game where others still beg to be the funeral flowers. Most guys enter a relationship like begging for an affection internship. Look how good I am, how loyal, how different. They put her on such a high pedestal, they forget to check the mirror and see they've turned small, servile, predictable. And predictability, my man, is tedium's starter pack. The nice guy tries to keep her interest like shielding a candle in a gale. Romantic? Maybe. Pathetic? Absolutely. 'Cause the minute you position yourself as the one needing to be picked, you flagged yourself as lesser. And respect doesn't grow on red carpets. It sprouts from doubt. The scoundrel nailed this in round 1. He doesn't show up to conquer. He shows up to evaluate. He doesn't pitch as candidate for her heart. He acts like he's there to check if she meets the bare minimum for his time. He doesn't chase, beg, or pull needy teddy bear charm. He commands. He draws in. He positions as scarcity and anything rare shines. While others chorus, "Good morning, princess." The scoundrel pops in on his terms, says what he wants, and dips when he senses he's becoming background noise. He doles out presents like a selective GPS, on point, picky, tactical. And that shakes her emotional world, 'cause she's used to the predictable. The ones who mold, melt, fold. Then comes a guy who ignores the script, doesn't bend, doesn't react her way. A guy bold enough to be himself and worse, bold enough to bail if undervalued. That cold, solid, unshakable vibe throws her off. 'Cause what she can't control, she craves. What she can't predict, she romanticizes. The scoundrel embraces the risk of loss. And that's precisely why he's never forgotten. He doesn't scrap for space. He claims it quietly, knowing values in what isn't given freely. He sees the truth the nice guy pretends not to. The more you give, the less she respects. The more you hold back, the more she wants to uncover what's locked away. The scoundrel doesn't play to please. He plays to be remembered. And when a guy stops proving stuff and starts checking if she deserves to know him, the game flips. Control changes hands, and she, who ruled before, now chases the empire she thought she'd conquered. The scoundrel won, not by yelling, but by stance. Number 10. The disdain that scars, or how the scoundrel, without lifting a finger, left the deepest emotional mark she'll carry even hand in hand with the next guy. While the average dude still buys into the rom-com myth that you become unforgettable with sweetness, pampering, constant presence, and dramatic confessions, the scoundrel learned what really works. It's not what you offer that marks. It's what you withdraw. And he withdraws it all. Clean, dry, no yelling, no heads up, no tears. The scoundrel's disdain isn't a blow-up. It's surgical silence. That absence hits like an invisible smack. No outer bruise, but inner tear. He doesn't need to prove squat. Doesn't need an abandonment scene. He just ghosts with a casualness that makes it seem like she never mattered. And that's what bleeds the ego. 'Cause she expected a fight, drama, pleading. Expected to see a guy battle for her. And got nada. The abyss. The echo of her own pride. The scoundrel doesn't accuse, fight, or post shady stories. He just leaves. And leaves like finishing a coffee calm, sure, cold. He doesn't circle back to sort things. Doesn't ask to talk. Doesn't send hope you're good. He erases like he deleted not just her number, but her existence. And that scars. 'Cause female ego can't handle total silence. She hunts for the unsaid, dissects the unexplained, relives the unfinished. And the more she seeks meaning, the louder his disdain echoes. The scoundrel doesn't leave doubt about leaving. He leaves doubt about why. And that unanswered doubt becomes a scar. 'Cause a yelling end heals. An open door end closes. But an indifferent end torments. The scoundrel's disdain is stark. Clean. Cruelly elegant. No speech, no note, no disguised longing. Just silence. And silence has a bitter taste she carries to bed, shower, therapy, and the next fling. The scoundrel got what others can't stomach. Disdain with chill doesn't just exit her life, it enters her memory as a wound that never heals clean. And that, buddy, is the presence time can't erase. Brutal wrap-up, 'cause every legend rises from a fall. The modern scoundrel didn't come out the factory ice cold. He was forged in the flames of humiliation, worn out from feeling too damn much for folks who weren't worth half. He wasn't born quiet. He learned to shut up after screaming his lungs out to the deaf. Wasn't born picky after handing over the world and getting scraps. Every silence isn't a pose. It's a scar. Every absence isn't flair. It's armor. Every indifference packs the tale of a guy who once dragged himself emotionally and wasn't even noticed. He's not cruel. He's the outcome. The mirror. The fallout from being good, loyal, whole in a world that prizes the shallow. He doesn't play. He shields. The chill you see is just the shell he built to avoid getting ground down again. While others still crawl trying to get women, the scoundrel flipped the switch, started getting himself. And when a guy sees himself as the prize, he stops chasing. And when he stops chasing, she's the one tripping to catch up. The scoundrel won when he realized dignity isn't up for grabs. Won when he didn't fold to emotional blackmail from someone who bet he'd never walk. He won when he took all he felt and turned it into tactics. Made his heart a sieve. Made silence a language. And today, he doesn't need to prove worth. He is the worth. Real power isn't convincing. It's shutting up. Real strength doesn't yell. It vanishes. And the ultimate win? Being remembered with pain precisely 'cause you didn't return. The scoundrel isn't the story's villain. He's the result of a good man tired of kneeling, who chose to stand. Cold, maybe. Cruel, never. Just fair to the one he'll never let break him again.